So the second piece of work that I'd like to pick up with Rob about is the rebrand of the performance venues at Sheffield University. So many universities, Rob, have performance spaces that are or aren't open for public use. Was a more commercial angle the driving force behind the refresh that you did at Sheffield?
Yeah, it certainly played a major part in it. The Octagon Centre is a renowned sort of live gig venue. Obviously, it's a service to the university for graduations, and it's really the start of a student's journey starts there and it ends there. So it's integral to students throughout their careers at the university. But yeah, the gig going public, the Octagon Centre is a really great venue, which so many bands over time have played there. The Who, there's been Zeppelin, there's been an Excess, there's been, every band who's ever been something have played there. It's an iconic place. So there was a major sort of commercial sort of drive sort of through it. But it kind of came on the back of the refresh of the university. Like, we never really knew how to approach brand architecture before. So we had to look how do we approach this? Because it's kind of, as you kind of know, it's a unique space because it does have that commercial entity. So it kind of has a little bit more flexibility, I guess. So we kind of looked at the identity, but in a really stripped back way. So one of the things I did with the management team at Performance Venues was take them through like a brand workshop. When I say identity, what do I mean by that? Are we looking at logo? Are we looking at the visual language that supports the logo? So there was really just a real getting them to understand what I was talking about. Because one thing I've learned over my career is not everyone understands identity like I do. And I shouldn't assume that when I walk into a room, but you sometimes do. Sometimes think everyone's on your page, but they sometimes aren't. So it's kind of due diligence to go through like a brand workshop, work out what the tone of voice is, the personality, the proposition, helping them around that kind of wording and that kind of positioning. And then looking at other kind of performance venues, but outside of education sector. So looking at exhibition spaces, museums, how do they approach their identity? And when they've got like multiple kind of parts of the business, how do their brand architectures apply? So we understood there was three core parts. So there's performance venues, the master brand, and then there was the concert series, and then there's Enable Us. So there's those three kind of parts of the business, and how do they all work together? And in the past, it didn't look like they were a connected entity. They look kind of a mishmash of sort of shapes and colours, which kind of didn't really feel like a family. So we looked at stripping back the identity to just essentially a square, because the stage is a square space, which kind of represented what happens in the venues on a stage, and then creating a visual language around it. So we weren't creating a logo per se, it was more a visual language around the logo. So the logo itself is very pared back, it's stripped back, minimal. And then we build this really expressive sort of visual language, which can be kind of modular, like you can add and take away bits to it, and it's easy to update for the in-house team to update it and sort of manipulate it to various sort of things they need to do. But it still retains obviously the university color palette, and it feels like it's still part of the university. So that's kind of the balancing out that we had to do, really. We're not going full commercial because it's still very much part of the university, but it retains a brand architecture system.
Yeah, well, it's what really struck me with it is how well it works large and small. Its impact large is fantastic. I mean, it's very expressive, and then often when you see those sorts of things used in smaller spaces, maybe even for instance on websites, even particularly when you're looking off your phone, they lose something of their impact. But I think there's still a sort of fluidity in the design, something that's sort of very expressive that lends itself to that idea of performance. So I think you've really captured something very powerful there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the team were really happy with it, and it was quite easy to get buy-in on it. And because again, it was like taking them on a journey. So it wasn't a massive surprise when we sort of presented the creative deck, because I showed them what other kind of sectors are doing, and how they use imagery and typography, however they apply it. So it's kind of you're prepping them basically for something that's quite different.
Yeah.
But they really bought into it. So that was great.
And have you got any? Have you produced any film or animated assets to go with this yet?
No. Obviously, we've got like the website is we create the website for them. We haven't done anything, no motion graphics yet. Again, obviously, we could have that in the future. We don't know yet, but yeah,
Because
you can see how it could work.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm almost waiting to see that now. You know, because it's like it's waiting for it. I mean, it could be great title sequences and things like that for events and performances and all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rob.
No problem.
Thanks very much for your time. Thanks for sharing your work and the processes that you went through on that. And I look forward to seeing more, talking more, and meeting up, hopefully.
Absolutely. Cheers, Ian. It was a pleasure.